Power to pre-scoring. Let's go.
Touchdown. Let's go. That was awesome.
I'm unstoppable.
With the help of any spark.
Yeah, no more buffering and disconnecting. Just fast, reliable service to help me get in the end zone.
Fiber internet from AnySpark gives you the speed you need to log on and level up. Residential, business, and voice services available. Sign up today at www.anyspark.com.
Welcome in MPW Digital post-game show presented by Realtree. As always, head on over to Realtree.com. Get 15% off with the code MPW15. More on them in a second. Jeffrey Wright here with me. I'll get to him in a second as well. But Ole Miss knocks off Oklahoma 26-14 this afternoon at Vaught Stadium, facing a 4-point deficit at halftime, and had at least their most critical quarter to date to keep the rest of the schedule in play and make it matter. They got to get better. That doesn't mean that everything's fine in any sense of the word, but they do pull out the win. They shut out the Sooners for the second half and get the victory over Oklahoma, moving to 6-2 on the season. Jackson Dart over 300 yards today. Didn't do much on the ground at all. Caden Prescorn did catch a touchdown pass. I see several people in the stream alluding to the AnySpark video playing right there before we got started with the show. So again, real quick, as you know by now, Realtree bringing that same passion, delivering the best in-class camo products, including their all-new hunting pattern that is the Realtree APX, the Realtree Legacy, plus some of the popular old-school patterns as well. That's Realtree.com for all your camo apparel needs. Again, MPW 15 for 15% off your order. They're proud to support Ole Miss football and all Rebel athletics and fall, the special time of the year, not just for football fans, but for all who love the outdoors. No, my hoodie is not for sale. We probably could work that out. I don't know. We did that on a run a good while ago, but I have not come back to that. Remember this, it will be in podcast form as soon as the show is over for anybody who wants it there. We're going to hang out for a couple hours. We're going to watch some football, and we are going to discuss this Oklahoma and Ole Miss game. I'll bring Jeffrey in now. Let me do that as we're getting started. We've got Alabama, Missouri up on the televisions. We've got Oregon, Illinois, and then BYU also kicking off. Jeffrey Wright here with us now in his new digs, new first week in the new abode there for Mr. Wright. And I saw a bowl eligible joke on the stream. I told Neal that in the first half. I mean, look, it was a pretty ugly game for Ole Miss. They got the win, but I do recall a time under. I think it was under Houston, Jeffrey. I don't think it was Hugh. I think it was Houston when Ole Miss got the sixth win pretty late in the season. There was like the big Glenn Waddle over the video board, over the loudspeaker of Ole Miss is now bowl eligible, and at least they are beyond that, if nothing else.
I think it was the 2012 year when they beat Mississippi State to get bowl eligible.
Oh, was it even that one too? Okay.
Yeah, because think about it with Houston, every time that he was bowl eligible, remember, like it was like 8-9-4, whatever. It was like 8-4, 8-4. It happened fairly early, but with the 2012 team, it was the last game of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the most consequential Birmingham Bowl ever for a team. Ole Miss knocking off Pitt there in the bowl game.
I don't think there's ever been a team that cared about the Birmingham Bowl quite like Ole Miss did that afternoon.
Yeah. So much here, macro, micro. We'll get into a good bit of all of it. But I'll be honest. I was sitting there. I leave at halftime of home games so I can get ready for the post-game show. I write during the second half. Because if I leave any later, I'm going to miss something potentially critical. It makes no sense. So I try to use the halftime as wisely as possible. And I told Neal right before, we were discussing what to write or what it looks like if Ole Miss loses this game, because Oklahoma, they come down the field, they score the touchdown, and I think you sent me a text that said the one thing that is these two teams look the same, frankly, at that point, and they did. There was not much difference in those teams there in the first half. And then the third quarter happened. Ole Miss dominates that quarter, 201 yards to 23 yards. They score two touchdowns. They also get the ball back again and are driving for what will be an eventual field goal and the final points in the game. And look, there's plenty to talk about in a negative way. There's plenty to talk about what didn't go right because Ole Miss, if they were the team that they are supposed to be, could have easily blown this game out much more than they did, just winning by 12. But I do give them some credit because when you're going into halftime after allowing the points there right at the end of the first half, Oklahoma's getting the ball out of break. Tons of things there that tons of things there that could have gone really sideways for Ole Miss, and that's a team that showed some pulse, showed some heart, and really put it away in the second half. Oklahoma was never back in that game after halftime.
Yeah, it really did feel like we were trending to kind of another Kentucky game, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially like when you consider how I felt like Ole Miss really gave Oklahoma the 14 points. I guess you can make the argument their second touchdown they kind of earned, but the first touchdown was
45 penalty yards on that first drive.
correct. I think the drive was 60 yards, and I believe 45 of it came off penalty. So to me, it really did feel like we were trending to that. And where I guess you should give Ole Miss credit, and I will, is I think it was 16-0 in the second half, right?
It was.
And to me, the key difference was they kind of got into that uncomfortable, all right, what's going to happen first? Like they needed, to me, like they were going to clearly need, they were either going to need the offense to step and make a play, or they were going to need the defense to essentially just shut them out. The good thing for Ole Miss was they kind of got both. And I'm sure there's going to be some people that wish they would have been a little bit more aggressive in scoring down the stretch. But, I think we clearly see what this team is. And you can tell Lane does trust his defense. And he doesn't really want to. When they got the 2-score lead, he wasn't really trying to force the issue and doing anything that would allow Oklahoma to get back into the game. And I think that was the right approach. And like if you want to look at, if we're trying to view it as a narrative on the season, you had an opportunity to have a replay of the Kentucky game. You learned from your mistakes. You made the plays on defense and you made the plays on offense. You win by 2 scores and you're moving on. And I mean, I just kind of think that's where we are with this team. I just don't think that they're going to be really that explosive on offense. And they're definitely not going to be explosive on offense without Trey, because I think of it in these terms. If you're a defensive coordinator with an average or better than average defense, which most SEC teams will have for the most part, what really terrifies you about Ole Miss's offense?
I mean, very little, because, like you said, I mean they've got sort of possession receivers. And I don't mean that as a knock on anybody.
Yeah, I'm not saying anyone's a bad player, but like you aren't sitting there going like, oh my God, if this happens, it's night. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of what it is.
And it makes some good points here. Not to get away from yours, I'm gonna come back to it in a second. Sure. We got plenty of time, but they make some good points. They brought 4 and 5 more in the second half. They brought more pressure on Arnold. They did a good job defensively at the first 2 levels of at least keeping him hemmed in, because he is fairly slippery. He can move, he can run, he can do some stuff in the pocket.
He's a good athlete,
and a lot of, you saw it against Nussmeier and LSU, what Nussmeier was able to do. They get to the quarterback a lot, but they don't bring the quarterback down enough. And I get they have a ton of sacks, but just in general, they let a lot of plays slip through their hands. And I thought here they did a much better job of at least getting help, keeping him hemmed in, kind of limiting some of what that looks like. And I think that was one of the main things in the second half. They played coverage pretty well at times and kind of got the ball rolling downhill. And once you get the lead, Oklahoma's offensive line's bad. You can attack them. Princely played well. I don't know how many snaps he played, but I thought when he was in there, he was very impactful. It's also worth mentioning, we do not have an update on Walter Nolan, but that did not look good at all. He was slow coming off the field.
I think he might have been the only legitimate Ole Miss injury today.
Yeah, he looked absolutely legitimate, and it was one that looked pretty rough there. So I don't know. We'll see what Nolan does, but otherwise, they were good. They were active up front. Chris Paul got banged up at times today too. I don't think he's healthy at all. Now he'll play against Arkansas next week. He finished the game, but he was that. But yeah, the defense did a lot of good stuff. There was some adjustments there, and then offensively, I guess before I get into stats, here's my question. they looked like they were scrambling in the first half. It looked like, they looked great on the scripted drive, as they typically do. But then after that, it was rough in a lot of elements. They couldn't run the football. They didn't really run the football the entire game. They finished with under 100. I'm pretty sure they were finished with under 100 yards of offense in the. 100 yards rushing for the game. But you saw a lot more tight end in the second half. They got Watkins down the field. They took the shot. They hit it. They did do a lot of things. Was that simply, in your mind, rhythm and momentum and just kind of getting going and getting, Dart ran the ball a couple times that I thought opened some stuff up? Or was there something more or less schematic that you thought was different first half to second half?
I think it starts with they couldn't run the ball. And because they couldn't run the ball, it just felt like they were in third and long the whole time. Like the first drive, they came out. I also thought I believe it was the second drive of the game, you had my brethren, Wright, the tight end, just drop. I mean, that's a horrible drop. I mean, those are the types of drops that are just inexcusable. Like, I mean, I get it. They're trying, whatnot, but like, come on, that's a third down. You got to keep the drive alive. And then I thought really the two biggest changes, to me, the two biggest changes in the second half, at least on the drives where they knew, hey, we've got to get it going, is they threw down the field on early downs. And, to me, it's just really hard to play football when it's third and long. And I just felt like in most of the first half, they were just sitting third and long.
So there was a shakeup on the offensive line today, but not a ton. So they started with the two Washington transfers,
you get rid of Pettis, and
yeah.
How many holds do they have? I felt like the flags.
I guess that's where I was going. Is now they didn't run the football effectively, so it wasn't like they had some huge advantage in the offensive line or anything along those lines. But did you feel like it was better at all? Like that. I don't really know what to make of it because, frankly, I thought early on they were kind of getting attacked. And they need Jaden Williams back. He was ruled out again this week. He's not playing, and Oklahoma's pretty good up front. They were picking on Pounds pretty good on that left side. They need help at left tackle.
I did kind of think it was better. I didn't feel like it was. Now, that's at the margins. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying like, oh my God, this is all of a sudden fixed, but I did feel like for the most part, when he was trying to truly drop back and throw it, he at least had the time to drop back and throw it. I felt like he was given the amount of time that when he wanted to step up, he could do so. So I did think in pass protection it was better. Now,
Oklahoma only had 3 quarterback hurries the whole game.
Yeah, and to me, like that's kind of the flip side of the argument. Almost had 9 sacks tonight, and 6 were in the second half. And
was it really 9?
Yeah. I don't know the last time
they changed that my story. I didn't even realize it was 9. Wow. Okay.
I don't remember that 2014 Tennessee game. They had a bunch of sacks on Justin Worley, but that has to be tonight. Has to be one of the highest number of sacks we've ever seen.
God, that was a good pull, Justin Worley. Nice job.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that game. That game was a lot of fun for me. Vols were not back, confirmed.
That was 14.
Yes, because
that was the game where Wes Rucker was claiming Derek Barnett dominated Tunsil.
Yes.
That is that game.
Mm-hmm. Shout out Brentwood Academy.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
But I kind of think I just think at this point, this is what this team is. This team is going to be very good defensively. I don't know if they're ever going to be like dominant elite defensively, but you're going to have to be very good, and you're going to have to execute at a very high level to score on them. Even LSU, who has a great offense, like it wasn't easy for them to score.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I just don't think like without a true deep threat that really scares you, it's going to have to be this kind of offense, and they're going to have to be really efficient. Like they can't afford drops. And you know what I mean? Like it's just, I don't feel like they have anyone on the offensive end that is truly like special and can just make something out of nothing. And that doesn't mean that you can't still be at least a good offense, or I don't know. I mean, at this point, like, that's kind of the questions. Like, what would you grade the offense right now? Because, I mean, it's average?
They're
I mean,
averaging 25. They're averaging 25 points in league play to date.
and I mean, that feels firmly in the middle, right? I guess I could look this up. Hang on. If
Yeah,
we
it's
go,
fine. It's not bad. It's not great. It's average. That's what it is.
and that's just kind of what they are. And I think it takes some getting used to, because you just don't, under Kiffin, this is probably the least explosive offense he's ever had, right?
Well, and it's because he doesn't have. I
He
mean,
doesn't have
especially
a
with
true
Harris out, you don't have
receiver
the. He doesn't have a game breaker. He always has
yeah.
a game breaker. He doesn't have a game breaker, and he's always able to run the football better than this. This is by far Kiffin's worst rushing attack from a number standpoint. I would assume. If not, then I would be surprised by that. But yeah, they just sort of are what they are. But look, I see this. I see people debating Dart today, and he certainly had his problems at
Yeah.
times this year. But I thought he was fine today because he goes 22 of 30, and then one of his incompletions was when he tried like hell to wait on Wells to free up on that third or fourth down or whatever it was. That I mean, he did everything he could do there. Now I do think some pocket awareness is kind of weird. It's not as good as we've seen from him at times. He's not running as much as I sort of anticipated, given their lack of run game. I've been a little surprised by that in a lot of ways. But today, yeah, 22 of 30, 311, one touchdown, no interceptions. And they've played the majority of their league games without Harris. Now, should you be better without Harris? Yeah, 100%. You should be better than you probably are. But that is a huge loss that he's either been hampered or out for the majority of it. So I mean, I'm in the middle on the offense. I'm like C plus. I have a hard time going lower than C plus when you are averaging nearly 4 touchdowns a game.
All right. So in league play, I got the numbers in front of me. They average 6 yards per play, which is fourth. They are
Now, is this in
14th
league games or is this overall?
This is during conference play. I did not, because
Okay.
if it's during, I thought that's what you wanted, right?
Yep. Yeah, it is. No, 100%.
I mean,
I don't want
they're
anything that has to do with Furman or Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, their non-cons are just listen, there's something that happened, but like you can't. I think we can safely say this is not that offense. I mean, you know what I mean? Like to me, like that seems pretty obvious. Okay, so yards per rush, they're 14th in the league. They are second in the league.
Dead, so real quick, 14th of 16th in rushing, but
correct.
4th in yards per play.
But they are 12th of 16 in rushing yards per game.
Okay, so 12 of 16. Okay.
Yeah. They are second in the league in interceptions per attempt. So Dart taking care of the football. That's exactly what that is. I mean, that to me, like that's kind of another part of today is, I mean, they had the one fumble, but I mean, like that was another story of the day. Like they didn't really turn it over. They are 13th in the league in first downs per game. They are 41.2% inside the red zone at getting touchdowns. That's 13th.
Ooh, that's not good. And that has lost a game so far, at least.
They're only 83.3% in goal to go efficiency. So getting touchdowns in goal to go. And they're ninth in, they are 8th in offensive points scored per game. So that kind of matches exactly what my eyes say. Like it's a pretty average, it's an average offense. It's not a bad offense, but it is certainly not something that is frightening.
So 8th in points per game. So you're middle, exactly mid.
You're literally dead mid.
And you've played some decent defenses, nothing crazy. I mean, statistically, defensively, who's the best defense they play in conference statistics?
I think statistically the best defense they played South Carolina.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, look, and what you read stat-wise is what you would expect from this team, given what our eyes show. It's that they have a hard time running the football, and when you have a hard time running the football, you make red zone mistakes because it's not simple. You don't have a lot of space to throw it. You got to be a little more creative or cute, or you try to get creative or cute, whichever way you want to take that, depending on what the situation is. and you get bogged down. So it makes you a better offense between the 20s than in the red zone, and that's exactly what's happening with Ole Miss right now. They lost to Kentucky, and well, they definitely lost to LSU, and potentially lost to Kentucky because they've been crap in the red zone. I mean, that's
What?
if you have a one stat, the ability to execute in the red zone is why Ole Miss is in the situation they're in right now. But it's also, it's not even just the red zone. It's because they can't run the football. Period.
Yeah, I'm looking it up. I feel pretty confident saying the best defense they've played is South Carolina. The other best defense they've probably played is their own.
Yeah,
in practice.
Mm-hmm. Just a quick shout out, real quick. Frazier Messine was excellent today. 4 punts.
Yeah,
53-yard average, including that 64-yarder. I mean, he had a day.
Yeah, and he also had a day kind of when they needed it. Like, he did a good job flipping the field and then almost decided, here's 45 yards of penalties. Like, when they were backed up. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I understand fan frustration. Ole Miss gets some really stupid penalties. Like, dumb penalties. And
no, they're not a disciplined football team at times,
like,
for sure.
What about the late hit out of bounds? That was like 4 yards out of bounds. Literally, I think his teammate was the one that threw the flag. He threw his hands up like instinctively knowing like, well, that's a flag. I don't even think like he meant to do it. Like, but I mean,
oh, we had a teammate do it.
Yes, it was hilarious. Like going down the sideline, he like threw it. I was like, okay. But like in the personal fouls, like they're stupid. Like they make immature mistakes and they pay for it. And I am just not here to. I'm not here to say, for all the conversation that somehow there's an official conspiracy against them. They do plenty on their own.
Look at Pavia. Is he in?
Marching down the field.
Is he in?
Yeah,
he's in. Touchdown doors.
Over. I mean,
real quick, because we're
really
going to be here for an.
What really annoys me is the Vanderbilt becoming a trendy underdog. It's like, no, this was my thing with points. Like I feel like I'm almost like having to pay a Vanderbilt tax because everybody's betting on them. And I guess it's very annoying.
Okay, so we're going to be here another 90 minutes at least. What is your TV situation? Everybody's asking.
Did I send you the picture?
No, you did. Like, so how far behind are you? You can tell them what your TV setup is and then kind of how's it going for the day.
Let's see. Can you?
Because you were behind me there, and I'm doing Hulu TV live on a stream.
All right. So right now that's the setup. So TV 1, which is the far left one, that is on DirecTV Stream right now. The other two are on. I'm finishing up the YouTube TV. I've still got like 2 or 3 days of that trial. And so I'm using that right now just because it takes forever to log into DirecTV Stream. You have to download the app and then like you have to log in from your phone and whatnot. So it's like I just woke up this morning and punched the button. So YouTube TV is on 2 and 3.
Okay.
And so right now on TV 1, we have Alabama and Missouri, but whoo, boy, that is not a fun watch. I don't know. I don't know how many eyes you have on that. If you have eyes on that one, I have BYU, Vandy, or BYU, UCF, Vandy, and then on the bottom TV I have Oregon and Illinois, and that's about to get rotated out because turns out Illinois was a trendy dog. And Illinois had a lot of fleas.
Yeah, when you threw for what was the Ohio State Nebraska final? I've been working.
I think 21-17.
Okay. 17-14 Nebraska was the last I saw, but I'm assuming Ohio State won because I didn't see anything crazy.
Yeah, it's 21-17. And everybody's favorite running back got the game winner.
Oh, okay, yeah. And I saw, when Nebraska went up, Dante Dowdell was the guy that got the score for them, which is the running back from Picayune that was in Oregon for a minute.
Yeah, I mean, part of that game story was a pick six, but I don't know. I mean, I think kind of what we're seeing is there's clearly no dominant team. Although maybe I don't know, maybe it is Oregon, but my eyes don't say that Oregon's that team. I just really think what we have seen is the flattening of college football. The Georgia can't afford to have two defensive linemen go down and just have another one cycle in that's going to be another, top 100 pick. And it's killed everybody's depth. And if you are healthy and you get a team on the right day, there's not a lot of difference in a lot of these teams. And I don't feel like anyone's got like a transformative quarterback. Honestly, maybe Shador, but like I just I don't know if the rest of Colorado's roster is even remotely enough to be competitive. So that's kind of like it's like when the best quarterback's just kind of on a team that's somewhere I don't know, the 50th best team in the country, somewhere around there. But I really think that we just don't have a dominant team this year, which could make for a really. I think that's why it's kind of been entertaining. I thought this year college football has been more entertaining than the NFL.
Well, yeah, because everybody says parity, and I don't know if that's the right word, because all it is the lack of consistency from player to player, unlike what you see in the NFL. And I mean, you've got Sanders doing good things at Colorado, more than probably he's getting credit for, which is kind of nuts considering the media consumption on them. And then Cam Ward at Miami, that with the help of refs and everybody else, they've stayed unbeaten and they've been fun, entertaining, interesting, whatever word you want to put on them there at that
No,
at that point.
They are a good watch. They're a fun watch.
Yeah. Whatever it is, you'll turn it on and stay with it. Real quick, 3 super chats. PTG Brandon says, please hire a real OC. Again, we've been discussing the offense. Charlie Weiss and Lane Kiffin trying to dial that up. Matthew Donahoe, thanks to you, says, was Pettis not playing injury or talent related? Well, I mean, it's not talent related, but I do think he's had some issues in addition.
I think it's performance related. I wouldn't say talent.
Yeah.
It is clearly.
And he's been playing hurt, but.
Yeah. I mean, I just at a certain point when you are basically, I feel like 4 drives a game, he's going to cost you 10 yards. Like their offense isn't good enough to just sit there and go, we're cool with 1st and 20. I mean, I would imagine the amount of drives or the amount of first downs they get after a holding penalty is very, very low.
And then Romulus says, Georgia is going to be a bloodbath. Good luck. Look, I mean, Georgia is 2 weeks away, but Ole Miss is in full Jim Valvano mode here of just survive and advance. Each week is what it is, and do what you can. Because, I mean, look, you've got to get to 10-2, most damn likely to have any chance of the playoffs. I do think 10-2 is enough. I think that would get you in because you'd have a win over Georgia, and you'd be quote hot in quotes because you'd win 5 in a row.
10-2 is getting it. This is what everyone else is also doing. Everyone's got to drop the brain that you used to have with college football. Teams are going to take losses. The schedule's gotten much tougher. Like it just has, and the teams are not. No one is as good as they once were. Like I'm not saying Ole Miss would be the team, but this idea when everyone acts like you're not getting in with 3 losses, I am not comfortable saying that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the problem on the Ole Miss with 3 losses is you don't have any quality wins. You will have lost in that circumstance the 3 games. But the point of it is,
but Georgia. Are you telling me Georgia couldn't get in with 3? Like, let's say Ole Miss does beat them. Are you telling me the team that had to play at Alabama, at Ole Miss, at Texas, they played Clemson, who might end up being the ACC champion, and they're going to play Tennessee? You're telling me that team's going to get left out because essentially, there's an unbalanced schedule? I just don't think that's the case.
Do they play Missouri too or no?
I do not think they play Missouri.
Okay. No, I think Missouri only plays Alabama because that's why we like their schedule so much in the preseason. That was what we loved about the Tigers, at least from having an opportunity. So, yeah, no, I mean, it's 100% that. But from an Ole Miss case, the point is you don't need you don't need style points. I mean, you won a game today by 12 over Oklahoma, and you can worry about the micro and like how you played and what has got to get better and all that stuff. But from a big picture standpoint, you just need a damn win, and you need one more point than Arkansas has next week in Fayetteville. And then you come in and you just try like hell to find any way to shorten that game and make it a one-quarter game against Georgia in the fourth quarter when you've got them at home, and you see what happens. And then if you wake up, either way, you've got Florida and Mississippi State. Because look, this Ole Miss team could lose to anybody left on the schedule. They also could beat at least 4 of the 5 left on the schedule, and Georgia doesn't always show up with its A game. And if it doesn't show up with an A game, then you're going to have a competitive game against the Bulldogs if you show up with a really good game on your side. That's where they are.
I completely agree, because the other side of this is like, okay, well, what if Walker and Mikael Williams for Georgia, what if they're banged up and they don't play against? Well, we've seen that Georgia, without those 2 guys, you can move the football on them, and people have. So I'm with you. Like, today was I thought the advantage, or I thought the positive from today was you got into the game that had cost you the same rhythm and the same script. It felt like you got into that exact same game, and in the second half, you played better and you did not allow yourself to lose that game. You got the defensive stops you needed, and you got the drives that you needed. And to me, like, I'm with you. Like, this is the classic style points don't matter. It is just about whatever. Did you get a win? Did you not? And move on.
Look, here's the thing. From a positive, what can you take from this game? As you said, they had a pulse in the third quarter. They showed up. They dominated a half and didn't let it get really weird like it has in other games this season when it's been that circumstance. They also showed that they're willing to be creative and to some extent scheme the tight end, because they had a couple of really neat play calls to get Prescorn and Wright involved at different times that locked that in. I was really interested in them.
They ran that quad set where they faked this, because I'm like, usually quads is kind of a dumb thing to do. But when they ran that, I was like, what is that? And then they faked the screen, and Prescorn kind of had it. Yeah, it was a nifty little route. Yeah, I agree with you.
And then the one negative, because look, you're not curing anything in the 8th game of the season. Like, you are what you are, and you got who you got. The only real negative to take from this damn game is Walter Nolan's help, because you could use number 2. Like,
yeah, I think
that's where you at. And I'm excited. It didn't look good. We'll see what Lane says, if anything. Probably nothing, but either way.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to say, like, what is the one way they could get better, I think they can be better in the red zone, because, like, for them to be better in the red zone, it was what we saw today. Like, they need to start scheming up some better plays, like have some red zone scheme plays. And that is something that's something Lane's always been pretty good at.
Okay, but is that personnel based in any way, or what? Like, is that something you have to do because something happens? Like, if so, why not after what is essentially 9 weeks of the season?
I'm not saying it's 1,000. It bats 1,000, but typically, when you see good red zone offenses, they can run the ball. Like, the one exception I can think of is when Garner Minshew was at Washington State. They had they were like 91% in the red zone. But usually the best red zone teams are able to run the football, and they can't run the football. So it just kind of is what it is. But I think what I did think was actually a positive today is I felt like sometimes they were stubbornly trying to run the ball in the red zone, and then you would just wind up with 3rd and 10 in the red zone, and they'd stall out. Like, today, I felt like they acknowledged, all right, we're probably not going to be able to run it. So, like, let's have these scheme plays.
Caden Prescorn led Ole Miss with 5 catches for 71 yards and that one score. Got 8 targets. So they went to Prescorn 8 times to make him a target standpoint.
Yeah.
He did. And then Wright had 4 targets. So they went 12 targets to the tight end today. So, I mean, you're talking about, I mean, I've got public school math here and whatnot, but I mean, that's 40% of your targets went to tight ends. So that's pretty good. as far as where you're ended up there to try to get them involved. Jordan Watkins, 4 for 59, 5 targets for him. Caden Lee, 4 catches for 59, 5 targets as well. They went to Juice 3 times for 39 yards on 4 targets. Parrish 2 for 3. Davis 1 for 26. But that was a huge one. That was a very important play down the kind of on the right side there as Dart was falling down.
I think you can make the argument it might have been play of the game, considering like the game script and where they were. I think that was a huge play.
And then rushing, just hardly anything. Parrish goes 15 for 44 in that one score. He averaged 2.9 yards a carry. Dart ran it 8 times for 24 yards, but I don't have a without sack situation there because I know he got sacked 1 time. Long of 8 for Dart, though, which says a lot. Average 3. Bentley went 5 carries, 5 yards. Had a long of 5. That tells you kind of what he did, which is not much. Pegues had the 1-yard touchdown, and then Juice Wells lost 3 on the end around red zone thing that was just blown up from the very beginning here. And I mean, Jeffrey, here's an eye-opening stat, and I get that, look, runs of 6, 8, 10, 12, that's what moved the thing, and that's what gets this thing done. But explosion does matter too. Through 4 SEC games, Ole Miss has 1 run of more than 20 yards. That is it.
Yeah, and I mean that's
a problem.
Well, I mean, you have a slow back.
Yeah.
Like, and I understand part of his speed is the fact that he's been through a lot of injuries, but he is what he is. Like there's just not any breakaway speed. There's the one long run, you know who it's by. And I mean, at this point, like I maybe it's the fact that they have to get super predictable because it is true. He is bad in pass protection. Like I think back in the LSU game, like, so I mean, I guess, hey, at least he's your second back today, but like, it wasn't like he was getting yards either.
Yeah, he went 5 carries, 5 yards, averaging the 1 there. And again, only he had 1 carry for 5, so it's other 4 for whatever that would be.
Yeah.
Chris Paul, huge game, even banged up. I know he had the fumble after they recovered the fumble and whatnot, but otherwise 12 tackles, 7 solos, a couple tackles for loss for him. Perkins continues to have a huge season, 11 total tackles. He gets 3 sacks today for Perkins, 5 tackles for loss. Daugherty had a good game with 10, Saunders with 9, Coleman with 8, and then from a sack standpoint, Pegues picked up a couple. Princely picked up a couple. Ivy had 1. Aquila Stone had 1. I think that's it. But they had 9 as a team, as you said. Just
and 6 were in the second half.
15 tackles for loss for the Ole Miss defense today.
Yeah, and to be clear, we're not acting like Oklahoma's offense is something that they're not.
Their line's bad. They're bad up front.
I did think, and then when Sexton got hurt, they got even worse. I think there's also a direct relationship of the sacks doubling in the second half because of Sexton getting hurt for a while. I think the other thing that was, Jackson Arnold, I felt like was very, very slippery, and they got him down in the second. I mean, I'll give them credit on the touchdown right before the half. That was a hell of a play. I mean, he got out of like 3 different sacks.
Considering the offensive line and how Ole Miss pressured him, I mean, Arnold did all he could do today. I mean, he impressed me more today than he has at any point this season. I mean, he goes 22 of 31, 182, couple scores, both those obviously in the first half. But the way he was harassed and hit and assaulted and everything else, and I mean, it wasn't like he got a ton of run game help either. I mean, Oklahoma as a team ran 50 times for only 147 yards.
I mean, look what he's throwing to.
Yeah. I mean, what are they missing? Their top 4 wide receivers?
I think it was top 5. I mean, basically they said one of the guys was out there because when they benched Arnold, he was starting to develop chemistry with him on the scout team. I mean, like, okay.
What kind of trouble do you think Venables is in next year? Like he's like severe hot seat, right? Is he going to get away with this at all because of the injuries thing, or what?
I guess, and also like Oklahoma feels a little like in in the family thing. I just get whips that he's a defensive coordinator, not a head coach. I just it's that's been my take, and like today, he gives me the same thing. I never had the Robert Saleh gene. It's the same thing. It's like he's so obsessed with. It's almost like he enjoys having the bad offense because it makes his defense seem even better. And it's like they don't. You're the head coach. Like I get it. You're a defensive guy, but you wanting to have a good defense and almost essentially like having disdain for your offense. It's like your job is to make sure both units are good. And to me, it's like, I don't know. The other thing that was really bad, in my opinion, and again, we don't know the locker room situation, but it's so obvious that Jackson Arnold was better than the other kid that his dad played there. I said it on Thursday. That felt to me exactly like when Matt Luke's staff thought playing the Mississippi kid was going to emotionally make everyone happy. And it's like, that was the wrong decision. Like John Rice Plumlee was nowhere near as good of a football player as Matt Corral, despite the fact that Matt wasn't playing great at that time, but that's also on coaching. Like as soon as he got in just a decent offense, he looked so much better.
I'm still irrationally frustrated. I know we did this last week, and I'm going to shut up. I'm only going to say it once. But Missouri's still wearing that dumbass Mac logo on their helmets with these suits. It's so dumb.
Hang
Put
on,
the freaking trim of the tiger on the side of your helmets and move on.
Which are you talking helmet logo?
Yeah. Just
What do
helmet
they have?
logo.
They have the Block M. What are they rocking?
Yeah, they're doing like, well, are they doing I mean, it's not the tiger. They're doing the Block M. The Block M is at least better than the Power Cat looking thing.
Yeah, that's the one school that like I'm vibe wise, fit wise, I've never really gotten them pegged because it's not even like they feel like a Big 12 school either. It's just like they feel like they're
a weird like cousin between the Big 10 and the Big 12.
yeah. And the thing that was always interesting to me or noteworthy about that that was one of the more like aggressive fan bases I've ever seen. Like I just remember them coming into Oxford, like trying to start fights and whatnot. It was an odd group. Like it didn't feel like it had you're right. It's like it's not an SEC school, but it's not a Big 10 school, but they kind of got like the institutional arrogance of a Big 10 school, but they're not. Like it makes all the sense in the world that they have an elite journalism school because who are the smuggest, least impressive people that you know? Journalists. Like who thinks more highly of themselves than journalists with having less like actually impressive things to their resume?
I mean, Alabama could still screw around and lose this football game.
It's only 3-0.
Yeah, I know.
Oregon is that Illinois. When I saw how much money was on Illinois today, I was like, oh God. I regret being on that side. Let me put Diego on.
Drew, thanks for joining us on the stream. He says, Chase, a Block M's traditional. All we wore at Mizzou 30 years ago and beyond. As a former player, I'm all Block M, not Tiger drawing or Tiger script. I respect that. No, the Block M is way better than the Tiger thing. The logo that's on the little bug at the bottom of the screen. I don't know what you guys call it, but all your
Well, I
logos
kind
are
of like
better than that thing.
What did you call it?
I call it a Power Cat because that's what Kansas State calls theirs. It's close enough.
That makes sense.
When did you play at Mizzou, Drew? When'd you play? Also, why are you hanging out with us while you're watching the game? Did you like go to grad school at Ole Miss or something? I mean, I appreciate you. I'm glad you're here. I'm a journalist. I have questions. I didn't go to Mizzou though, so my questions are probably bad.
Well, that's why you're not. That's why you're not at the top of the field. That's why you're
That's
sitting
why
here.
I'm sitting here talking to you right now, Jeffrey.
Exactly. It's like what did like they're both nice women, nice enough women. It's like what did Chris Budden and Dawn Davenport do? It's like, oh yeah, you go and you're like, oh, they went to Missouri. You're like, it sounds about right.
Oklahoma had a big crowd today. They filled up their section for damn sure. Ole Miss people did a pretty good job with the powder. I didn't. You said you could hear it more on TV. I didn't feel like I could hear the Oklahoma people as loud at the game as I have heard some different fan bases and different things. But I mean, they definitely were well traveled. I mean, I know Keith had said earlier in the week that Joe Castiglione had said that they had 30 or 35,000 people that at least were trying to buy tickets. I mean, they clearly couldn't get that many, but that was the kind of crowd Oklahoma was trying to bring to this game. Sure, the Grove was stacked there, and then the Realtree pattern helmet showed well on TV. In person, depends on how the sun hits them to be able to kind of pick it up. But I mean, I thought on TV they did really well. I thought they held up.
Yeah, and you never know like how they mic it, but I thought Ole Miss's crowd looked more impressive than it sounded, because there are times you're watching, you're like, man, this sounds like a damn Oklahoma home game. And again, some of that's where they have the mics that they're using for the crowd, and so I have no idea. It looked full. I mean, that's what I'll say. Like when they were showing the stadium shots, it looked massive.
Oh, it was completely full. There's no doubt about that. I mean, it was a full crowd. It was a crowd that got there, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes before kick. Like I said, the powder worked. I mean, it was cool. And look, Oklahoma's got good away uniforms. I mean, it was a good uniform game. You can't say much about Oklahoma wearing the white on white with the crimson hats.
No, I mean, the only thing is I don't love the Navy. I think the red's just a better jersey. But again, I keep going back to it. They're not for me anyway. So what does it matter?
I was shocked the player committee picked the Navy jerseys.
Yeah, I mean,
That did kind of surprise me.
Do they do the thing like Oregon? They don't ever wear the same jersey twice.
Yeah, they have a different uniform well, not jersey, but yeah, the entire combination
Right,
will not be worn twice in a
combination,
season.
whatever. The combination's never the same. Like they only have what, four jersey colors, so it's white, powder, blue, and red.
Red and blue, yes, and 3 helmets.
Right. So
not counting Realtree. So with Realtree now, they have a 4th helmet option.
Brady Cook headed to the locker room. So
good
night.
Yeah, the backup is not beating Alabama.
True Pine.
And then, I mean, that backup might not beat anybody. But point being, because my guess is now, if you told me the bowl game, Ole Miss wore a Realtree hat with a red jersey, I'd buy it. They can go to that now and do that. So
for another nominal fee.
Hey, just whatever. Just get be happy to. It's fine.
It's a partnership. You're right. It's a partnership.
Yes, yeah.
It's not a sponsorship.
Also glad Curry Luber is okay. He was the team doctor that fell there in the second half. That was pretty free. It was scary because I was already at home and all you heard was like medical emergency and EMTs all around the guy, and you're like, okay, well, hey, who the hell is it and how is he? Like that was a pretty startling 5 minutes when you knew it was going to be somebody you knew to some level there on the sideline.
I had no idea. My dad was at the game and he just texted me what happened, and I'm sitting there going like, this was right when Charlotte had just hit the bomb, and I'm thinking they're going to beat Memphis, and I was like, there's no way. Like, how does he know that? And then he's like, someone just collapsed on the Ole Miss sideline. I was like, well, they were in commercial break, and then as soon as they came back, that's when we got the report that he did not lose consciousness, but they took him straight to the hospital. So, but yeah, you're right. It seemed like everybody quickly knew that was a scary situation.
He never lost consciousness, but the way they sort of talked about it, you thought it was much more serious than that coming out of the break. Because I mean, you're thinking cardiac episode or aneurysm or something where somebody
You
just
hear
just
somebody
falls out.
collapses on the sideline, and yes, you immediately think like, "Oh boy."
Tupelo says, Chase, whatever you do, ask Neal when he joins about Lane's comments about the national championship. Give me some context there. Was that the um okay, so he follows it up, made some snarky comment about the whole town saying if you don't win in Natty, it's a bad year. Was that in like the post game with the radio, or was that actually in the press conference? What I mean, obviously we'll ask Neal, but where was that said and what was said? I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen
Okay.
anything, but I've not been on Twitter really since we started this.
So how far behind are you? Like 45 seconds? Do you get a read on exactly what it looks like?
I haven't done the thing that you usually do where you have stat broadcast up.
Mm-hmm.
Because I tried to watch today without stat broadcast, but that was also weird because I was like, I'm having to like mentally try to figure, like, I was trying to like mentally be like, how many yards do I think Dart's thrown for? Like, how many yards do they have? I would guess I'm a solid 45 seconds behind.
So you've seen Arkansas plenty. We'll look ahead a little bit here. Taylon Green was pretty good today. They ran on State's ass today. I mean, just were able to really, really run the football. I saw they had 58 at one point.
It was like
Is that what they finished
58.
at?
I think so. Let me double check because that was one that I went pretty heavy on. I was chasing the Mississippi State scalp after 2 straight weeks of getting
Oh yeah, you
burned.
took the Hogs, didn't you?
Yeah. It ended up 58-25, yes.
What are the challenges for Ole Miss next week against this Arkansas team?
Athletic, big quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of
Is he
different pass
healthy?
catchers. He looked pretty healthy today. Now, that could also be Mississippi State's defense. I mean, a proven offensive mind. I mean, he's been doing it for a long time. He's been putting up points. He's been scheming up offense for a really long
He's a
time.
good football coach.
And again, I'm not sure he's a quality man, but he's a good football coach.
Yeah.
I guess that's the only way to
We're not
think
asking
about
him to read the Bible or lead the
it. Yep.
service. I mean,
Nope.
we're asking him to dial up football plays.
And I give Pittman credit in a year where, he potentially hires a guy that, could stab you in the back and take your job. But like, I give them credit for that, and they're a lot better. Like, their defense isn't great, but their defense is good enough to make you earn it. I mean, that's the other thing. Ole Miss hasn't really moved the ball like on, I guess you can make the argument they've played 3 pretty good defenses. I guess South Carolina's good defense. Kentucky at times has been good defensively. Like, I think the score last week kind of made, like, I don't think just because they got bombed on by Florida on some explosive plays, like, I don't necessarily think that means that they have like some trash defense. Like, they have a first round guy in the middle, and he had an unbelievable day against Ole Miss, but I still don't think that LSU defense is all that good. Do you? What? Hang on, I lost you.
Oh, my
Now
bad.
I got it.
I
Yeah.
had myself muted because my dog was barking. Sorry. I said no, not at all. They are more fundamentally sound because they are just a little better and some things like that. The coaching's pretty good. They've done a good job, but not in any way beyond that. I mean, there's still holes all in that defense for the most part.
Yeah. So, and I mean, Oklahoma has a good defense. Like, that's not a bad defense, but I mean, to me, it's just like, it's, next week, what could be interesting is if Arkansas forces Ole Miss to score, can Ole Miss do it?
Neal, how are you?
Chase, Jeffrey, how are you all?
Good day, gentlemen.
We're lovely. I did laugh here, and there is some history that says this. You got Ginger saying, "What are the challenges playing in Fayetteville because they never do that well?" And then Alexandra, appreciate you again for seeing you. Says 11 a.m. kickoff, so Ole Miss football can't ruin my day by losing to Arkansas if they don't start in the morning. There is some truth there for you
Drew
guys.
Pine, by the way, Drew Pine just threw a horrific interception. Drew Pine looked like the freshman got in the varsity game and was like chunking it up.
Mizzou's on a backup quarterback now, Neal, and it is not pretty. It is quite ugly.
What's that score?
Aaron. It's only
It's only
6-0.
6-0, but it might as well be. If Drew Pine has to play the whole game, 6-0 might as well be 36-0.
So I've been instructed, Neal, to ask you. Apparently, Lane made some comment about fans saying if he didn't win a title, it was a bad season.
Yes, it was a really interesting post game. There's a lot to get to, frankly. He basically threw a couple of players under the bus. It was really interesting. Micah Pettis, Walter Nolan, sort of depending on how you interpret what he said. And then he was asked a question by one of the TV people about becoming bowl eligible. And he started out with, I didn't know that. I'm obviously paraphrasing, Chase. I didn't know that. That's not how we think around here. And then when he was finished with the answer, he said, but thank you for asking. Thank you for noticing something, because everybody else, it's about national championships or whatever. And I was kind of floored. I really was. I was like, no, hold on. You can blame the media for a lot of things. Hand raised. I blame the media for a lot of things. But you can't blame the media for the expectations around this team. No, sir. No, absolutely not. No chance. No. Not 0%. You did this all yourselves. You're the ones that he talked about how great the roster was. They did the last dance. They went out into the portal. They got all these people. Hey, we don't play people. This is his way. No. This is completely on them. And it was the first sign that I kind of wondered, what's up? Like he said that he thought all week Micah Pettis was – no, he thought going into the game that Micah Pettis was playing. He said Micah Pettis told them that he couldn't play. And then he said that he thought Walter Nolan was going back into the game, but that Walter said he couldn't go back in. Now, I can't speak to the Pettis thing, but although I do believe Micah's hurt based on sourcing. I think he has a knee issue where it feels like it's bone on bone, and he's in a lot of pain out there playing. Interestingly, Jackson Dart was asked, when did you know that Julius Buelow was going to play right tackle? And Jackson said, we practiced that way all week. Which,
Okay.
thinking out loud.
Wait,
and putting,
Jackson pulled a George
well,
Pickens.
no, hold on. Here's what's interesting. And I'm kind of putting two and two together a little bit. We heard through some sourcing that Pettis was demoted and ran second unit last week. Now, that was during the bye week. I don't know about this week. I don't know. But that would make sense that Buelow ran starting right tackle all week, and Micah decided before the game that because of his injury that he couldn't go. But I thought that was interesting that a coach who never talks about injuries and was earlier in the press conference asked about specificity regarding Nolan's injury and declined to go into any detail. He said simply that they weren't available and that's all I've got. And then he offered that up later. I just thought that was kind of an interesting, perhaps, anecdote and maybe a little bit of an insight as to the mentality of some things right now or some people around the team. But I watched Walter Nolan come back out to start the third quarter. To come back out as the teams were about to start the third quarter. And he did not have his helmet, and he had a very noticeable limp. He did not look like a person who was preparing physically, mentally, emotionally, or otherwise to return to that football game.
He also did not look healthy. Like I think, and again, I was not in the stadium. I'm telling you from what I saw on television, it looked like he was trying to gut it out, and then it got to a point where he's like, I can't gut it out.
Well, I mean, I thought he got hurt on one of those last plays in the second quarter.
When we thought he might have gotten shot, when he was on the ground, took forever to
Yeah,
get up, and then when he
I think it
finally
was
got up,
on.
he was incredibly slow off the field. I mean,
I
really
thought that
slow.
wasn't that on. Was that on the play that? Was that on the play that Oklahoma scored, or was it the play before Oklahoma scored?
I don't think he was in on the play when they scored. Are you talking about right before the end of the half?
Yeah, Arnold
I felt
scrambled to
like
the
I
right,
think
got away
I
from
think he
pressure, and
got hurt before that, but if someone tells me that I'm wrong, and they're confident, I don't feel confident. I thought he was not in on that play.
Yeah, I thought it was right before.
could be.
I thought it was
I
right
can't
before.
remember.
So, I mean, it's all this, Neal. I'm kind of thinking about it as you're talking about it. That other comment, though, there's even the most Pollyanna fan never said national title or bust. It was make the damn playoff. That's what it's been the whole time. Was make the playoff and then be competitive.
Well, I mean,
I
come
mean
on,
that,
look.
that's a weird passive pass the buck comment. Like
Oh, I took it as.
that
I mean, I'll be honest with you, and if I'm wrong, and they go win,
that's a
they go.
complete misstep of a quote that frankly just pisses people off that support you. That's
I mean,
stupid.
look. If they go win out and go to the playoff and win the national title, I'll eat these words. Fine, you know me pretty well. Both of you guys do. Whatever. I took that as no. We're gonna when and if this thing is another loss, whether it's Georgia or whoever, I'm gonna still be able to go. Hey, this is still a good season, and I'm sorry, but that's not on the menu.
Well, you know what it tells me? I'm trying to redefine the standard. You know what I mean?
I mean, sometimes you have to say, yes, the season was disappointment. I mean, you don't have to call it a failure. But look, if they lose a third game, they're not making the playoff. And if they don't make the playoff, it's a disappointment, period. You don't get to have that expectation all year, be asked about it, never steer from it, and then when it doesn't happen, go, oh, no, this was a disappointment. This was a good thing. We had a good season. We're still a lot to be excited about and proud of. Although some of those things can be true, but that was just a weird thing. He'd already answered the question with, "That's not how we think around here." Okay, cool. You're not worried about making the Music City Bowl. You're not like maybe some of the other programs in the league that when they get to 6 wins, the coach is going to make it. Hey, we got to 6 wins. We're going to get to play in the postseason. Blah blah blah. You've gotten your program past that point, and then to say that it was just kind of like, really? I mean, it was just such an odd thing.
A season can be a disappointment, can even be a failure, and it doesn't mean your program is being repoed and hauled away on the back of a tow truck.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, I
yeah.
mean, it's
I mean,
okay.
I mean, like,
Alabama had a 3-loss season under Nick Saban during the midst of the run. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
look. Earlier
He
this
didn't just
week,
go.
yeah.
Keith Carter was asked about it in that athletic story that we talked about. Wasn't that on Thursday? We talked about that story.
Yeah, it
Um,
was Thursday.
yeah, and Keith made a comment about we're not building this for 1 year. We're building it for the long haul. If you build it for the long haul, there will ultimately be seasons where you don't achieve that goal. But look, this team, I'm talking about program, has nothing to do with program or the collective or any of those things. Nothing. But this team was absolutely built to go to the playoff. That's what it was for. That's what it was built for. They spent a lot of money on it. They went out. They went out and got high profile guys. They threw a lot of money at a lot of people. And who knows? Maybe they'll do it. I mean, as of today, they're 4 wins away from probably achieving that goal. The point of my column today was they're going to have to play better. They're going to have to establish some things, or this is not going to happen. And I don't think that's a negative take. I think that's a realistic take. Watching them play four SEC games now, including games against Kentucky, South Carolina, and Oklahoma, where Ole Miss just looks like a good team. They look like a good team. They very rarely look like an elite team. And I think for them to beat Georgia here in 2 weeks, they're going to have to be an elite team. If they play
Well,
like
yeah,
they
they have to
played
play
today,
way better. Yeah.
if they play like they played today, like they played against Kentucky, like they played for most of the South Carolina game, frankly, that the games against Arkansas and Florida, while I think Ole Miss will win both of those games have a chance to get pretty iffy.
Yeah, I also, though, I was thinking about it in these terms, though. How much of it is we're just not quite conditioned to a Lane Kiffin team where the offense is the weaker unit? Because I think a part of the problem we have is that, you're used to seeing, like, it feels like offense has always been fairly easy for them. And I think that's the thing that stands out when you watch them this year is like, man, other than their first drive always works, and it always feels like it's cake. But then after that, it's like even their good drives feel like, man, that was a struggle.
They have they have a playoff defense. They have a group of 5 red zone.
They have a playoff front. They have a playoff front 7. I'm not sure I'm ready to do that with safeties.
Yeah, I will say though, oftentimes when you're playoff front 7, you don't have to have a playoff back.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, offensive line's a struggle, continues to be a struggle. I thought they did a decent job of protecting Dart. I thought Dart made some really big plays on that second scoring drive in the third quarter. The one play, the 26-yard throw to Davis, I thought it was kind of a play of the day because he was about to go.
We all agree that we thought, because that was when the game was still kind of And
it was 3rd and 9.
Yeah.
3rd and 9, I think, and they were getting ready to punt. They were only up a score. At that point, only up 2 points, 16-14. So that game was very much in doubt. And that second score was obviously Oklahoma's so bad on offense that once they got down 2 scores, it was night-night.
Real quick, PTG Brandon, huge super chat. Appreciate you. Appreciate you as always on the variety of shows that you contribute to here on the network. Says, how much more money do we have to spend on coaches? Talent is the problem. And then you have a final sentence that I can't say or put up on the screen, but appreciate you immensely for the comment there. No, I mean, look, you got some talent stuff in some areas. I mean, but look, I mean, here's the thing. Even if you have a talent problem, that is on the coaches. They brought them in. They evaluated them. They developed, like, whatever it is. It still is that's where it absolutely is a hybrid NFL pro model, is that they are the general manager. The general manager gets flack when the roster is not put together in the way that it should be put together. And, I mean, we talk about this all the time. It's the one thing that's a decent comp is when you go out in the NFL and grab a ton of free agents and go, oh, my God, look at the talent. We are going to the damn Super Bowl. And then whatever happens.
Philadelphia Eagles super team.
Yes. I mean, the squirrel was kind of funny today. I had a good time watching the squirrel come off the field.
Squirrel was good. Squirrel had the longest run of the day. Ole Miss's longest run of the day was 9 yards. Henry Parrish.
I gave that stat earlier. They still only have one rush of more than 20 yards in league play all season.
I will say this. That was a tough watch today. I don't know how it was in person, but like all the TV watch was brutal. Like it was one of those games that was like probably 3 hours, 45 minutes, but it felt like 6.
I think that contributes to people at the stadium being frustrated. Like, I think the gameplay and the timeouts, and I'm not going way down that road for like 20 minutes, but I mean, just kind of looking at my text and stuff today, I mean, I got stuff from people that were leaving the game at halftime or leaving the game, and they're frustrated by the team and what they expected from a win-loss and a point scored and thing. But a lot of it also was just simply the timeouts and how long you've been sitting there and how it's going. I mean, it just sort of changes the entire mindset in a lot of ways. I think it does have an effect on the fans that are at the game from a positivity or negativity standpoint.
I also think y'all feel free to call me out on this, but like I know this fan base. A big problem that the fan base is having, and part of the frustration is they're not great on offense. Like people can do this of, man, if this team just would have had a defense and talk like that. This fan base loves offense. They do. Like they're kind of okay when their defense keeps them at 9-3 or whatever. but as long as it's fun on offense. And, this offense feels like you're going to get a root canal. It's not good.
So you do think certain fan bases are more conditioned for whatever, like that. Whereas Iowa goes, "Hey, bring me the defense and Phil
Correct.
Parker and let's play." They don't need the 40 points a game.
No. I respectfully agree with what Jeffrey says to a point. But look, there was one time where Oklahoma ate some clock, and so they hit the panic button, and there was 4 plays. I can't remember whether it was Ole Miss or Oklahoma went 3 and out and punted, and they had another TV timeout. So they had a TV timeout for 3 minutes, 4 plays, and another TV timeout for 3 minutes. That's total bullshit. That's bad television. It's bad.
No,
it's bad.
I agree with you. I agree with you on the mechanics of the problem is it all comes back to there's literally no central authority. In the NFL controls the television product. The timeouts are only allowed to be 3 minutes, like for commercials and everything. Like they control the window. Well, the TV networks all overpaid for all of this, so guess what they're going to do? They have complete control, and the commercial. It was even proven by there was some on Godfrey's show. They got one of the former executives, and they proved exactly what we knew. The clock rules, it's shortening the amount of plays, and guess what's going up? The number of commercials. Why do you think that is? It's because they've clearly overpaid for this, and they're trying to get their money back. But what Chase and I are talking is something a little different. There is a frustration amongst the fan base, and I am 100% convinced it's the fact that their offense just isn't that good.
3 and outs really bug this fan base. Lack of first downs, lack of points, movement. Oh, it's what you've had it's what's been successful for a really long time.
Yeah.
Ole Miss is not seen as some defensive mecca.
Well, and for whatever reason, I don't know why, we could do the anthropological discussion, but it's always felt like Ole Miss has gotten the offensive players in the state while State has gotten the defensive players in the state.
Yeah, right, wrong, or not, I don't know. But
you know what I mean? Is that because culturally maybe Mississippi State tried to build with defense, and then Ole Miss always tried to build with offense? I have no idea, but to me, that has always been the case.
Alabama 13-0 now, Jeffrey.
Yes, they did punch that drive in.
Okay.
I'm gonna need a backdoor cover in Nashville. You can feel that one.
Do you have any prayer of that?
It's only 14-7, but you can just tell Texas is feels like Vanderbilt's hanging on by a thread.
I don't think they're going to. It feels. What's my line? 21? What am I getting?
I don't remember what we got in picks. I've got 18.5.
Okay. Yeah, you're kind of in trouble there.
Yeah, no. And now Texas just scored again, so it's 21-7. I'm going to need the door. It feels like I'm going to need at least 10 more points for the Doors to hang on.
Doors in the stream. Juice was a space guy at SC. We don't use him that way. Watkins is a slot, big play guy, throwing him fades. Prescorn destroyed Penn State with underneath plays and can't seem to find him. I don't know whether to blame the Wells thing on health or scheme or what it is, but yes, he does not. There's nothing about the way Ole Miss has used him or what he has produced this season that looks anything like what Carolina did well with him when he was good. But he also literally has one leg that is noticeably smaller than the other one.
Is he as explosive as he was before the injury? He doesn't look it to me.
Yeah, now, I just you look at him in person, you go, God, are you okay?
And that was a horrific injury.
It was.
We got somebody that's now on the move and talking and on the move.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Today's been the first day where we've been consistently taking multiple steps.
Oh. Are we getting words yet?
She understands the concept of hello or hey. She'll do hey.
Okay, that's good.
consistently, what would you say, Leah? She can say Dada and Mama.
I thought it was incredible when she said Uncle Neal. It was amazing.
Yes,
So
exactly.
cool.
Yeah, there's Uncle Neal.
I love that. I love that. I love that.
She kind of, or Aaliyah's mom kind of has gotten her to say thank you. It doesn't come out like crisp, but she kind of gets the concept at least. She also, I hope y'all are sitting down for this. The girl might have a bit of a punk streak in her.
Oh,
Say hello.
really? Oh,
Yeah, no.
hi.
Say hello.
Hi.
Hey, hi.
We know the hi concept.
Can you wave? She sees herself,
Yeah.
and I guess that's
He
it's just
says,
blind.
she says,
she's
"There's
blinded
Uncle
by herself.
Neal."
Yes,
Look
there's
at
Uncle
her.
Neal, as she said. Right?
Yeah.
Can you say hello? Nothing.
Yeah.
You got stage fright.
Bad.
Oh,
we're just connected. We're just vibing right now. We're good.
Straight
Everything's
vibing. Okay. Dang it! I had the. You know when you've got too many games on and you see a highlight and you know it's something that you need. I saw Diego trying to score and I was like, "Come on!" And then you realize like, that's a highlight. That's not the. There's nothing worse than when you're like NCAA tournament when you've got all the games going and then you look up and you get faked out by the recap of someone. You think like, "Oh my gosh."
That's pretty good. Alexander said I waved at her before I realized she could not see me. Yeah, somebody on the stream. Yeah, it's good.
She's very interested in herself right now. I can tell. Hello.
Jeffrey, did you put more money on one way or the other when you found out that Hughes having to play hurt and come off the shelf to try to get it done tonight in Lexington?
So I don't have money on that game yet. I want to like take a moment and acknowledge this man's narcissism. He wanted the world to know.
Now is when you like to do that. First time. Hold on, guys. We have a new theory. Go ahead,
Right.
Jeffrey. Go ahead. Sorry.
He wanted to announce to the world that he had diarrhea. That's his new level of narcissism.
Well, he didn't fly with the team. They probably aren't going to be completely focused because he wasn't there to help them in their meetings. Like he was laying it out there that something is different. They're out of routine. They're off schedule, and that he's still going to come in though and call the ball and get it done. Just saying, like it's coming.
Part of me thinks that means he thinks that they're going to win. The problem is, I think he's thought they were going to win several games and they haven't. Like to me, part of it is like he'll do that whole routine to make him seem like the conquering hero, but I don't know really how they still have to deal with the fact that they're not good on offense.
JMC question for my Hugh Hospital bed Halloween costume. Do I still wear the Liberty hat or can I officially wear the Auburn hat now?
Either way works. I think you could switch to Auburn and it's authentic enough.
Just remember, you can also 1 year I want him to go. What would be the right costume to say I'm detoxing? Because that's what happened. Allegedly. He is
she's
very
calm,
lucky
like watching the computer now.
He's
Like
very lucky that he was
great.
at a private school. Very lucky.
I mean, like she's really calm now, Jeffrey. Like you're completely like locked in.
Again, if she can see, like, whenever she can see herself, she's a big fan.
MPW Digital, the frustration of the fan base is the play calling doesn't match the personnel. First half felt like the game plan was still the same as if Harris was on the field. No, I mean, I guess, Neal, I was asked to ask you this a couple times in the thing. Second half play calling was certainly more effective. I mean, we can call it whatever it is. What was different? They got the tight end a little more involved. They did have some traction down the field. They still can't run the ball, and they didn't do a ton of that either. Dart had a couple runs, but like you said, the long run of the day was only 9. It wasn't like something was crazy on that side. But they were creative. I did think they got away, though, to Doer's point. against LSU, they knew Harris was banged up, and then when he went out, they just took Caden Lee and put him in and started doing the same damn thing. I did think they were a little more variable on that today, and they just didn't try to feed one guy, even though they don't have a documented playmaker right now.
Yeah, I thought so. I mean, I thought they used their tight ends well. Lane talked about that in postgame. That's what I've been fighting with, is trying to get Kiffin's press conference downloaded. I think I've got it. I'll have it loaded in a moment. I thought they spread the football around to some different wide receivers, Caden and Watkins. And, you would think this would have been an opportunity to maybe, hey, let's see what Aiden Williams can do, but that didn't happen. So that ship has clearly sailed. Look, they just can't run the football. I mean, whatever reason or reasons, I'm open to all theories. I realize the Bentley thing is an emotional thing to fans, and I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm not saying they're right. I don't know. Parrish wasn't very effective as a runner today. Bentley wasn't very effective as a runner today. Dart had the second longest run of the day with 8 yards. They didn't even get to 400 yards of offense. They were able to score because they hit the 24, 25-yard play to Prieskorn, the 34-yard pass to Watkins set up the 1-yard run. This is 4 games in a row that offensively they have some limitations. And I think at some point you have to acknowledge the possibility that this is who they are offensively. And that there's still a chance that they're going to break out and have this incredible game. Prieskorn said he thinks Harris will be back. He didn't say when. I've heard Georgia at the earliest. That doesn't mean that's right. But if they've got to go play another game without Trey, I don't think it's about being explosive. I think it's just about doing enough to win.
And that's going to be the question for me next week. Is their defense so good that they're going to avoid? I am worried about if they get into the game where they have to score. Like, that they get into a game where somebody gets into the 30s. But maybe their defense is that good that's not possible. Because, like, last week, I kind of thought that's what was going to happen in Tennessee, and it didn't. Like, I thought Alabama's offense would get into the 30s. They didn't. And so is that going to be kind of the same thing? Is this defense so good that you cannot score, 4 or 5 times on them?
Well, when you do that, it brings
point.
in their biggest Achilles heel, which is red zone, which means you got to get in the 30s. That means you can't kick field goals. It means when you get the 5 red zone opportunities, you score 4 touchdowns. That's what they had against LSU. They scored 13 points off 5 red zone trips.
Yeah, and to me, it's like, I think there is a real question of, have they underestimated the running back position? Because it looks to me like if you're the only way to really truly like run the football, in my opinion, is you either got to be elite up front or you got to have an elite back. It's very obvious they're not elite up front, and they don't have. I don't even know if they're average at running back. I wouldn't even say they're average. I would say they are. They might have one of the worst running back rooms in the entire conference, and because of that, they cannot run. Because you have that combination, you can't run the football. And why can't they score in the red zone? That's because you can't run the football.
Process it already. Process it.
How about is Pavia hurt, Jeffrey?
So he got tackled on the previous. They put in the backup. I mean, listen, he's been banged up since the Kentucky game.
Yeah.
And last week he didn't look good either. But
I mean, maybe you just get him out of there and know you're not going to win and live to fight another day. And look, here's a good point to what you're saying. Sorry, I got off the Ole Miss topic for a second. Was if you're going to play to the defense, and I guess we're talking about both sides of our mouth in some ways, but in the current games they're playing where they're playing to their defense.
Take the points.
Yes, where they're playing to their defense, just kick the damn field goals and keep adding on points when you can, and 3 and 3 and 3 and 3. Now, and then at some point you look up because Oklahoma wasn't getting into the damn 30s. So just kick the field goal, get up what you can, and figure it out later.
I agree with y'all from that perspective. I think the problem is he doesn't trust him.
There is truth to that. I mean, he missed an
I
extra
will
point
say this:
today.
Aaliyah was in her ultimate freaking out. Ole Miss sucks, manic moment today, and so that was like they put together a nice drive and took the lead, and then she literally says right before, "Watch, they're gonna miss the extra point," and like 2 seconds later, the kid doinks it off the left upright.
And maybe there is some of that. There probably is a little bit of that. The other thing, too, though, it's what we are conditioned to Lane throughout his career. When they get behind or they have a chance for fourth down or whatever, he just gets impatient and frustrated and goes, "Nope, I'm by God going to go for it again." And like, I need these 7, and I need this, and blah 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 blah. Like, I think that plays into it as
I mean,
well.
we talked about it in the preseason. One of the legitimate questions about this offense was going to be so much of their success has largely been because they've been awesome in short yardage. And a lot of them being awesome in short yardage, it's okay to admit this, people. He can still be annoying. His mom can still be a problem. Quinshon Judkins was a very good back. And that was why they were good in short yardage. And you had to account for him. So even if you accounted for him, well, and then Jackson pulls it, well, Jackson out like that. It allowed them to be very good in short yardage situations, and they don't have that right now.
I mean, there is a lot of boom and bust. I mean, yes, Sammy, 57-yard field goal and then a missed PAT. That is.
I think that's the problem. Field goals or extra points are too short for him. You know.
Is that y'all's living room, Jeff, or you have like another room you're putting all these TVs in? What are you doing?
So this is like our upstairs. So we have like a 1.5, and this is off the like we have a guest suite, and this is the room that's off that.
So is that allowing Aaliyah to take the traditional living room and not have 9 TVs hung on the wall in it? Is that what's happening?
Correct. We only have one hung down there now. We also have a kitchen table for the first time. Like
Ooh, congratulations.
Yes, with placemats. Aaliyah got like festive fall placemats that are very fun.
What about chargers?
What about what?
Yes, Neal.
I was just letting people know the Lane Kiffin post game is finally up. I have fought that file for the better part of 30 minutes, but it has been processed and loaded into MPW Digital.
The chargers are the little things that go under the plate, Jeffrey. You got those too? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think we do.
Okay.
That sounds like something I've at least seen that I've seen on the table.
That's a big day for her, not having to completely go to your sports and TV whims on the number of TVs in the main living area. Like
and
we're very in the lead a little bit there.
It's also nice that because this room, like this is where we have like Josephine's toys and stuff too. It is nice because it's not like the living room, and if someone were to come over, like this room's upstairs, so like if you just kind of want to leave a few things out, you don't want to feel like you have to pick up every single time. That is nice.
What percentage of your TV watching will be in the room where one TV is there?
Only when I'm eating, and only when we have to eat downstairs.
Okay, that's fair. We're getting out of here pretty soon. What is your take on Kentucky Auburn tonight, Jeffrey? After all this, are you going hard on the Cats, or are you thinking that you know something by going to this extreme with the acting and the play here?
I mean, how can you trust either team? Doesn't this kind of feel like a game where I think kind of both teams have low-key been like begging for someone to just knock them out? You know what I mean? And this feels like the game where it's like whoever kind of gets either feels like whoever gets like scores first, or maybe it's like, all right, whoever gets the first 2-score lead, that feels like that's the way the game's going to go.
What's the Ole Miss Arkansas line Saturday? Both teams are done today.
I'm going to say Ole Miss. I'm going to say Ole Miss minus
7.5.
I was thinking 6.5.
Oh, I think it's bigger than that. I'll say Ole Miss
Arkansas is
minus.
not playing bad football.
I'll say Ole Miss minus 11.5.
Ooh, that's big.
I'm trying to think. Arkansas power rates pretty well. I'm trying to think. Have they had a common
What was the
sort of
opponent?
LSU
see.
Arkansas
I'm trying to
line
think. Have they had a
last week?
common? So Ole Miss was
LSU was favored by
2.5.
almost.
It was. It
Yeah,
was
like 3 points.
all right. So Ole Miss was favored at LSU. Was it 3?
Basically 3 points. Yeah.
All right. So 6. Yeah, I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be Ole Miss minus 6.5.
Okay. Ole Miss didn't get to 400 yards today. 380. Oklahoma 329. Again, Ole Miss only ran for 69 yards.
I do think part of
2.2 per rush.
First off, it was a very nice 69 yards. Secondly, I do think part of that, though, was them not forcing the issue at the end. Like, I think they knew they were going to have to really screw up for Oklahoma to score.
He played well to situation there. There's no doubt about that. I mean, they're late in that. Neal, I guess the last couple things I asked Jeffrey, and we'll talk about this all week, but you were up there last week watching LSU and Arkansas. Big quarterback. You got to get him to the ground because, like I said, Ole Miss has really pressured teams, but they haven't executed all the way to the ground a lot, and it feels like that is a hellaciously key matchup. They got to stop the run. Linebackers have to be good next week. I guess just in general, what's the one or two things that is an early key on this game for next week?
Yeah, you have to contain Green. He's a big kid. He's super athletic, more athletic than he probably gets credit for. He doesn't have the most consistently accurate arm, but he can burn you with his arm. He can make some throws. He made a couple of throws today that were big throws. He can throw on the run. He can break long runs against you. He's not afraid of contact. I mean, I think he's a legitimately good player. They're better up front than they are probably getting credit for. I think Pittman's done a good job with them up front. I couldn't tell today. I wasn't like glued to it. I had it on where I could keep an eye on it since we'd be talking about it this week with Ole Miss playing them next. I couldn't tell whether the Jackson kid, the Utah kid, played. I saw where like a couple of their other backs played a good bit, so I'm guessing he didn't play much. They've got some receivers who have some speed and athleticism, and combined with Green's scramble ability, make that a threat. Defensively, I don't think they're very good. They get a lot out of what they have. You have to block 40 Jackson because he's an elite defensive lineman. Their linebacker core is average. Their secondary, I think, is below average. I think you can burn them. But look, if it's a deal where Trey Harris doesn't play and you can't get the running game going against Arkansas, I think it gets pretty tenuous pretty fast. My guess is that they'll be able to run the ball somewhat effectively and they'll win quasi comfortably up there. But they have to play better than they did today. They can't come out and have a dog of a first half in Fayetteville like they did against Oklahoma. I do think Arkansas is a better team than Oklahoma. I think Arkansas would beat Oklahoma if they played.
Taylon Green goes 23 of 29 for 314 today for the Razorbacks, and then their running back Russell, 16 carries, 175 yards, and then DeBinion went 11 for 98 right behind him. So huge running day for Arkansas.
Jaquindon Jackson didn't play.
He did not get a carry today for the Razorbacks.
Nope. He's their best back. I mean, they have some dudes who can run the football. I saw someone in the stream said they're one player. I think we were talking about defense, and I kind of agree with that. Offensively, I think they're far more than just Taylon Green. I mean, they're what are they now? 5-3.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, they if you do the woulda coulda thing, they probably should be 6-2. Could be 7-1. I hate that stupid game. They're good enough to. If you don't play well, they're good enough to beat you.
They had
LSU
673 yards today against the Bulldogs.
State can't stop the run. That's their problem. And I thought Arkansas had a pretty good plan for them defensively. They let the quarterback do some things, but they were able to make some plays. And look, they're very typical of that group of the SEC that's like 9th to 14th, where if you let them hang around, they'll hang around. And if you let them hang around, if you let them hang around in Fayetteville, that it can get iffy. Look, LSU made a play last week. That game was about to get interesting. It was 16-10. Arkansas made a stop in the third quarter and got the ball back at, I don't remember exactly, the 20-ish. And I remember going, you drive here, get a field goal, make it 16-13, make this a 15, 16-minute game at home. Kind of all bets are off. And LSU made a play. They got basically a pick six, got it to the 2, ran it in, scored, ball game. If you play with your food there, it can get. They're good enough. They're not like they have been a couple of times the last couple of years where they're just so bad they can't beat you. They're good enough to beat you if you let them shorten the game.
Well, I mean, I think that's what's going to be interesting, though. If I'm them, I mean, I guess it kind of depends on how much they think they can score on them. But I am curious. If I'm them, I'm trying to put a number up, and I'm trying to see if Ole Miss can come get them. And especially
100%.
100%.
If I'm them, I empty
we all
the
think that
playbook.
Harris isn't playing, right? Next week.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if he plays based on what I've heard.
It's a groin, right, Neal?
Yeah, I've heard it's a growing, and I've heard it's a significant one.
Arkansas Doris says
that.
Arkansas reminds me of Carolina. Arkansas is way better offensively and way worse defensively.
Yeah, they're the opposite.
Yeah.
Again, people do the thing with Green that he's just a runner. He's more than that. He's more than that. He can make throws. He made 2 or 3 throws today that Lenore Sellers fantasizes about making.
Guys, Lenore Sellers, the throw on the 2-point conversion that would have tied the game, that is one of the worst throws I've ever seen a scholarship human being make. He missed it conservatively. He threw it into the stands. That's how bad of a throw it was.
Yeah,
he did.
He
made
Joe Milton look accurate.
Yeah, and the difference is Carolina's got 2 Dallas. What is his name? Jackson? Dallas? Is it Jackson?
Who are we talking about?
40.
The running
number
back.
40. Number 40 for Arkansas, the defensive end.
God.
I don't know.
Started out at LSU, transferred to Arkansas, had a really good year, is projected by some as a first-round pick.
Jackson, yes.
Landon Jackson.
Jackson. Yeah, South Carolina's got 2 of him.
Yeah, Kennard and Stewart.
Yeah.
Yeah, different deal.
I think
Story and Spence.
I think somebody left a diaper for me.
Oh. Congratulations.
It's not smelling great over
whatever. Yeah, it's good. Good close there. Yeah, I mean, we'll hit that all week. It is what it is. I mean, look, Ole Miss gets you got to get there one more in Fayetteville. They haven't won there since 2008. They've won in Little Rock twice since then. I get you can't choose where you play it, but it's a different environment in Little Rock than Fayetteville for an away team.
Have they won twice in Little Rock or just once?
Twice. Matt beat them in the rain in 18, and
okay,
they won in 12 when Bryson Rose hit the field goal.
Can we count the Chad Morris era? Like, I get it. It happened. It technically is in the record book, but like,
is there? Okay, yeah, I guess that's a good question, Jeffrey. Is there an easier win in the SEC West era than Chad Morris in Little Rock?
No,
for a road game.
Maybe when Ole Miss played Vanderbilt.
SEC West. Okay, I'm taking Vanderbilt out.
That's the easy. The gold standard, or that Derek Mason team that they played at Nissan Stadium, and then the Chad Morris.
That was like 41-0 or 41-3 or something.
I just remember like And Vanderbilt's scoring possession was negative yardage. Remember, like Ole Miss either threw a pick or fumbled it, and it was like -8 yards and a field goal. That was the scoring drive.
All right, last super chat, last couple things here. Corey says season win-loss total for the team. Where are you setting the over-under, Jeffrey, if you're Vegas, for Ole Miss right now?
You're probably setting it at 9.5, and you're juicing you're giving odds to the over. Like
I'll go under 8-4.
I mean, they're
If
going to
you're
be
Vegas, then you would set it at 8.5, Neal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would be setting it where somebody takes you could lose to Georgia and still cover. But do you lose to anybody else or not?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, it becomes a question of I'm of the opinion, I think if they get tripped up, it's next week. I suppose it's possible that Florida game kind of stinks out loud. We're talking like I'm going to be very clear. I do not think they're beating Georgia, but
I think
next
they
week
lose
is
to
their second hardest
Georgia.
game. Yes,
right.
I think they lose to Georgia and then lose to Florida. I think they lose twice to Georgia.
I can buy that, where the Georgia game gets them the next week. I mean, I'll say this about Florida. They've not quit on them yet.
No. Look, Chase and I talked about this today. Now, they will not play another quit team the rest of the year.
because you don't have there's not another team with expectations they can't reach.
I mean, Arkansas doesn't have the whole weight of playoff or bust. They never talked about the playoffs. That's not a thing for them. So for them, I mean, like next week, for Arkansas,
It's like a free shot. It's a fun. Yeah.
If you let's just real quick, let's take these 4 teams that are left. If you're Arkansas, a win Saturday, you're 6-3 with Louisiana Tech still on the schedule. It makes, I mean, Missouri. If Brady Cook can't go, that's a different game. It makes the Texas game for them and they have an open date after Ole Miss. It lets Texas be free shot because there's no pressure on them. So that makes them dangerous. Georgia, you know what Georgia's playing for. Georgia's dangerous as hell. And if Ole Miss can't improve dramatically over the next 14 days, that's not going to go well on that field down there. It's just not. And then after that, Florida, I don't know. They haven't quit yet. Maybe they quit, but they haven't quit yet. And Mississippi State, I mean, that's first-year coach, young quarterback. They're going to keep playing. I didn't think they quit today. I thought they just got beat today. Ole Miss should maul Mississippi State, but you got to show up and do it. I don't think they're going to roll over and play dead. I mean, I think you'll have to go do it. And so it won't be like, who was the coach last year? Was it Greg Knox or something? I mean,
People can laugh. I still thought that was great. The entrance on the 4-wheeler was fantastic.
Oh, that's right.
That was so sick. That was awesome.
I forgot.
Lay it out there, see what happens.
He said after the game, he's like, "Yeah, I'd never ridden one until this week." I was like, "It was awesome."
I mean, Florida has a weird 21 days though. They have Georgia, Texas, and LSU the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, ugh.
And so they might quit by then, but I don't have.
They haven't yet. Like to me, it's like they have not yet.
And I would like to real quick before we go ahead.
They'll have to play well Saturday. I'll go on record. I think Ole Miss wins. I think they win somewhat comfortably, but they have to play better. If they don't play better next week to start the game than they played this week to start the game, it's got a chance to get iffy.
I guess this is the big question that I have. What's their best game this year?
Who?
Ole Miss's. Like, if we have to sit there and go, that was the
LSU.
game they played their best.
LSU.
Like, what if this team just doesn't have like that kind of gear?
Listen, I think that's on the menu at this point. I think that is possible. I think if you erased all of the hype and just watched this team play 4 SEC games, I don't know that we would be talking about playoffs. I really don't.
I'm with you. I also think
this doesn't look like a top 12 team. It just doesn't.
Now,
Maybe it may, and maybe it will in the second half of the SEC season, but to date it hasn't.
I guess though this is the question. I know that, like, I kind of feel the same way about Tennessee, even though Tennessee, like, the key difference between Tennessee and Ole Miss is the second loss. Like, because it seems to me right now, I think when we get to the end of the year, Alabama and LSU are going to be very similar. I think whoever wins that game, I think that one's going to be probably 10-2, and the other one's going to be 9-3. Like, it feels like they're the same team, but the difference is, Tennessee got that win, whereas Ole Miss didn't get the LSU game.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%. Yeah, I mean, Tupelo says it. Last year they had the juice. They won one-score games last year. They had confidence. They just felt different. They did. Completely felt different.
They could run the ball last year.
Yeah, they could. They could run the ball.
I mean, that's the other thing with these one-score games. They're getting into a lot of one-score games, and they're having to be fairly predictable because they can't run the ball.
Yeah, and Clay makes a good point. I mean, the catch is the bottom couple teams in the top 12 are not going to feel like they really deserve it.
Yeah, I mean that.
Got to put somebody there.
Yeah,
right now though, you also, I mean, look, I get you got to worry about your own house before it ever even matters, but you kind of need to look up in this ACC thing and go, God, you don't need them to get 3 damn bids. Somebody's got to beat these teams, and they probably will. I get we're not even in November yet. Chaos is coming. But Clemson and Miami don't play each other.
No,
and SMU is undefeated in league play.
And also, you kind of need either BYU or Iowa State to start taking L's. Like, are we really going to sit there and act like – I don't think they play each other.
Yeah, I mean, Doors makes a good point. You'd say it looks like an 8-4 team with a 10-2 defense.
Yep.
And I'm also with Neal. I think a big part of the playoff conversation was the schedule.
It was. Everybody. We looked at schedules for everybody and went, hey, that's why we did the Missouri thing. That's why we did the Tennessee thing in a way. And then when we went to Oklahoma and went, God, no, we didn't know their offense would be as bad as it was. It's because we hated their schedule.
Yeah.
That's what we hated. Texas was in good shape. They had a better schedule. So that's where it is. Neal, what's up at the site?
People that liked Missouri, it was the same thing. You looked at Missouri's schedule and like, that's manageable.
Mm-hmm. What's up at Rebel Grove, Neal? What's coming? What's up?
We've got my column's up. Lane Kiffin's postgame is up. I've got a notebook that is up. An AP game story is up. Your observations are up. I'll have 10 weekend thoughts up tomorrow, and then we'll turn the page.
And there is basketball tomorrow. Ole Miss and Illinois, 11 a.m. from the Pavilion tomorrow, benefiting CASA of North Mississippi, the Illini, who are ranked right around 25th, just outside, just in, depending on the poll you would like, and the Rebels that are in the preseason coaches poll for the first time in program history.
AP poll, too.
Yeah.
Can we do away with the exhibitions being the best non-con? Like, make them real games. Like, this drives me insane. Memphis has 2 awesome exhibition games, North Carolina and Alabama.
Ole Miss does too, Houston and Illinois, and you throw them out. They don't count. I mean,
make them games we want to care about, like watch.
Parham was watching exhibition college basketball last night. I mean, that game should count. I mean,
I did. I turned on Arkansas and Kansas and kind of like forgot that it was an exhibition. I was like, oh, this, I don't even know what to take from this. It means nothing. Never mind.
Yeah, it's like, can we, like, why? I don't know. I'm so sick of we have to schedule to win. It's like, give us stuff we want to watch.
All right, last thing, Jeffrey. What are you watching tonight? What's the number 1 game?
Well, I mean, it's got to be LSU A&M, right?
Oh, yeah, LSU. I forgot that game was even on tonight. Okay, my bad.
Right? I mean,
there is a World Series game too tonight, guys.
Not that either.
That was awesome last night. That was a great baseball game.
Thunder at Bulls tonight, guys.
Well, I got Magic.
What is it? 2 of 82.
I got Grizz at Magic. Or I'm sorry, I got Magic at the Grizzlies home opener. Also, you can't forget that. The Grindhouse will be rocking.
Neal saw how his Thunder handled the Nuggets without their big man the other night, and he suddenly got a little more giddy, a little more going over there. It was
little.
By the way,
I started making plans for some nights in June. Little
sunburn.
No, I got full scale Willie on that one.
sunburned, still out of shape, hungover, fat Jokic is awesome. Like, that is such a good aesthetic.
It's not the
Chet,
May Jokic.
Yeah, no,
Chet
this is
ran
not,
him.
this is not. He's in his full shack of like, you do not pay me. And also, I'll tell you who else is in that. Marcus Smart right now is so fat. Like, he's got like the neck and the
I
face.
saw him. I saw a picture and was like, what the hell?
Yeah, but what's also underrated, he got all that junk in that trunk, baby. Like, he's got a fat ass right now. It's fantastic.
So you're not going to Grizz tonight, are you?
No, we were talking. We think we're gonna try. We targeted like a December 1st game. Like, there's like an afternoon game where we want to try to take Josephine, but
Okay.
it's hard right now. You gotta basically you gotta either drop her off at the grandparents, and so yeah, it's kind of tough right now. Like, so we'll be watching tonight.
All right, for real, last thing, and we're going to get out of here from let Neal get out of the damn press box. When that game was going on, though, in the World Series, because we've all said we didn't know if we really cared. When Freeman steps to the plate, who were you for? Were you Yankees or Dodgers? Did you want to hit in the moment, or did you want him to get out?
I'm pretty solidly Doyers right now.
Okay, fair.
I mean, I guess there's part of like, I don't know. It's like a good story for Freddie Freeman.
It was more person than team for me. I find myself wanting the Yankees to win.
Did you see where both his home run and Kirk Gibson's home run were hit at 8:36 p.m. Pacific time?
Well, I heard Katz say that in the press box today. I did not know that prior to that.
That's wild.
I will say this: that was an elite bat toss. Like, post contact, the admiration of his work, like that's how you celebrate.
It was a perfect baseball moment. It was
Correct.
a
That's how
hang
you
it
celebrate
in like it was right there.
Yeah, that was how you celebrate a walk-off grand slam.
Yeah, a lot of truth there. So, all right, guys, appreciate it. Let's get out of here. Ole Miss knocking off Oklahoma 26-14 today from Vaught Hemingway Stadium. Rebels moving to 6-2 on the season. Back in action next week, 11 o'clock in the morning against the Arkansas Razorbacks in Fayetteville. We'll be back with another post-game show. Plenty of coverage between now and then on MPW Digital and rebelgrove.com. So I thank all of you guys for the super chats, for the comments, for hanging out, interacting with us here this afternoon. We'll have a full schedule starting back on Monday morning. Again, Rebels 26, Sooners 14. Ole Miss shuts out Oklahoma in the second half, so I hope you enjoy the baseball, the football, maybe the NBA if you're like Neal and everything else. And remember to support Realtree.com because they support us. They help you guys. You got the Extreme Galaxy pattern on the helmets that went awesome today. They look great on TV. So, again, support those guys. My buddies, the Jordan family. And that is at Realtree.com. MPW 15% off there at Realtree.com. So, coverage Rebel Grove. And, again, be back with you again on Monday morning.